Welcome to the Upshot, Ulti-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield. It is Wednesday, October 11th. Tomorrow, we have the final event of the 2023 season. Can you believe it, Josh? The season's over.
Feels like it's
in like 5 days.
Yeah, it really has felt like it's flown by.
What the heck are we going to do for the next 4 months?
Well, Charlie, you're having a kid. So
right.
I think you will be plenty busy. But an announcement, Charlie. Megan and I are also going to be having a kid.
What?
But not until March. So
Josh, incredible.
New season. But you're going to have the Ulti-World kids.
Congratulations,
Thank
Josh.
you very much.
That's awesome.
Thank you. We're very excited.
March?
March.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Just in time for the Texas swing. I know that you're pumped to be at home with the baby watching the Texas swing.
I'm not gonna have time to watch any disc golf. Sorry guys. Phoning it in for that month.
Too much going on. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So big excited, but there we go. It's crazy that we're both having kids like right within 6 months of each other.
We'll have to do some cameos here on the show at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Big show today. We got DGPT Championship Preview stuff to do. Talk about the changes to Nevin. Make our picks for who's going to advance to semis, and of course pick our podiums. Before we get to all that, though, just a little bit more on the USDGC and Throw Pink, and we're also going to look at the committee. We're going to look at the FPO committee, the challengers who have been attempting to top Kristen Tatar this year, and try to see if we can figure out who's been second best behind Kristen. So we'll get to that. So let's dive into some more of this USDGC stuff. Lots of interesting notes from players down the leaderboard. Mm-hmm. We mentioned already that Simon got his first major podium since Konopishte in 2018. How about Isaac Robinson, though, right in third place? He has improved his standing at USDGC every single year that he's played. We talked about this in the preview. Mm-hmm. 61st, 21st, 15th, 8th, 6th last year, and now third this year. Josh, at some point, there's nowhere to go but to the win.
That's right. I mean, we talked as well. What else was impressive about Isaac Robinson and his schedule, or his improvement, is the fact that this was the tournament that he always played even before he was a full-time touring pro, right? He was only playing 3 events, maybe one to qualify and then one at USDGC some seasons. And for him to continue to make that improvement, it seems like he's just an amazing Winthrop player and has to be somebody in consideration every time. Third place is a little bit, it's a good finish. It comes from a 10-down final round. He was outside the top 10 when he went into the final round, though. So, yeah. Not quite as in contention as it may seem.
Not in contention whatsoever. Never.
Better way to put it.
Never in the conversation.
Yeah.
Which was true for everybody who didn't finish top 2. So, right. Well, obviously, like Joel Freeman and some of those guys were clearly in the mix in rounds 3 and slightly 4. But when you look at the actual final standings, it's just the guys who had good rounds, it was way too late.
Yep.
Does Calvin Heimberg deserve credit for his third top 5 major performance this year? He's now actually doubled his career top 5s at majors. He had 3 career coming into this year, and now he has 6 because he did it 3 times this season.
I mean, yes, he deserves credit, right? To come out, shoot an 8 down when you're out of contention, and to keep the mentality in order to get up to 5th, it is something that deserves some credit. I guess when I let me ask you this, Charlie, maybe the answer is obvious. What do you think is more disappointing? Calvin's USDGC performance, where he does not show up better in the first 2 rounds and is completely out of the mix by moving day, and then manages to get back up into the top 5, or European Open, where he goes into the final round with a lead and then just comes out flat and ends up finishing around the same spot, but was in contention going into the final round.
I think I find it more disappointing to blow a lead.
I think that's probably the answer. But it's it's hard not to get tired of this story where Calvin is out of contention and makes his way back up into a strong finish with a good final round. But he's so far behind that you like almost didn't see him on coverage for a couple of the days because it just did not matter.
Well, I mean, the tide is starting to turn on Calvin a little bit. I got to say,
true.
I'm seeing more people than ever saying that Isaac should be player of the year. And I feel like a month ago, even, it was like sacrilegious to talk about anybody other than Calvin.
Yes. Trust me, I of all people know that.
and like, you know, he's obviously got an extremely high floor to his game.
Yes.
He is
highest floor.
Solid every week.
Yes.
So challenging. Final boss, right? I think somebody on the broadcast said that at one point, maybe Ian. But when you just continuously do not finish the job, it starts to wear on people a little bit, and it wears on your fans a little bit. And I think it's an open race coming into this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Isaac wins, he's player of the year. I don't even have to think about it. Calvin wins, he's player of the year. I still think about it because of the majors, but I think it's pretty much locked.
I think that's a lock, yeah.
What if Gannon Burr wins this weekend?
Chaos.
That's going to make things really interesting.
Yeah.
Because he's got a lot of wins.
He's got the most wins. He's got 3 of them.
And so then you're like, ooh, what do we do now?
Yeah.
You have 3 guys who are on very equal footing, and it basically it's like, how do you want to weigh
what's
majors
more important to you
versus high floor versus most wins? I don't know. I don't know what you do. I think it's like a personal preference at that point.
Yeah.
It's
a tough. That would be a tough decision. I don't think there's anybody else even like sniffing contention though.
Sure. Joel Freeman, another top 10, another top 5 at USDGC. He's got 2 top 5s in his career now. Last 4 years, 10th, 5th, 7th, 5th. Really good at Winthrop. He could have won this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same as 2 years ago when he lost his putt. He desperately needs to go to sports psychologist.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. He is held back by his mentality on the course. It prevents him from playing his best game every week.
Mm-hmm.
And when he gets into a spot where he has a chance to win, he basically never closes the deal because his mentality is just so poor. And, we had him on the show. He's a nice guy to talk to, but he turns into a different person on the course, and one who is so negative towards himself and looking for excuses that it makes him play poorly.
Yep.
And I feel like we watched it again this weekend.
So and here's the other part that I think is difficult. Number one is that he shares that mentality on social media, right? He has posts sometimes that are just some of the most cringy posts of any pro on tour when it comes to the persecution complex around his disc golf game. But the additional part that I think is interesting about Joel Freeman, someone posted in the Discord during the round, is Joel Freeman the new villain of disc golf, right? Nico's just kind of no-showing this season, and it's hard to care about a guy who doesn't ever make coverage. Joel makes coverage, and then people just dislike him for that attitude. And I have to imagine that card mates have a difficult time with him when he's in that mode. I mean, we know people, I'm sure everyone has played with people who kind of have that attitude. It's something that he's got to fix, and because if he doesn't, I think it's just going to continue to hurt both his brand as well as his play.
And he talks about wanting to overcome this. You talk about the social media posts. He talks about I have to deal with this and I'm improving, and it's no, you're not improving. Right. You need to go deal with this with a therapist or a sports psychologist, really.
Yes.
And people are innately kind of have things that come out of them during competition. Some people are really intense. Some people shy away from the moment. Some people are overamped. Some people are too hard on themselves. We all deal with those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. I tend to be a more fiery, intense when I'm competing, and I don't think it costs me performance,
right?
But I think it can make me a little bit abrasive, when I'm out playing basketball. I'll chirp,
mm-hmm.
But when it is clearly affecting your play, then I think you have to address it. How about this? Eagle, 19 top 10s at majors in 25 starts. Since 2015 Worlds, Josh, he is only one top 10 finish behind Paul and Rick.
It's an impressive stat because last season, before European Open, Eagle was the guy that we gave a hard time about the majors. And before he managed to buck that image, which I know he had the Konopiste major, so maybe it was a little unfair, but I think
it was definitely a little unfair.
It was maybe a little unfair, but it's. I
mean, it was kind of a Mickey Mouse major, if we're being honest. But continue.
Thank you. That's why when people with the Simon stat that it's his first podium since Konopiste, I'm like, oh, so it's his first podium in a real long time prior to Konopiste, because But I think this actually makes a lot of sense when you think about Eagle then and the perception around Eagle in the majors. It comes from the fact that he gets in the top 10 so often and then doesn't close it out. Right. And this is the same thing that Calvin is suffering from now, where lots of good finishes without wins is going to create a kind of image around that person and the majors. But I think this is a good highlight of the consistency that he's had at some of those top moments. And the win at European Open really helps him kind of shed a little bit the idea that we've had around Eagle and the majors that was similar to one that Simon and Calvin both suffer from now.
I'm pulling up Eagle's stats because he played really well, but he couldn't putt. Never seen it from Eagle. 76% C1X putting. 76th in the tournament. I mean, actually, Circle 2, 35%, not a problem. But I think he missed 11 Circle 1 putts. And he finished at 19 under, and the winner was at 27 under. And you just think about what could have been.
Yep. I mean, he was better on strokes gained tee to green than Kyle Klein.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. He played awesome. He was third in the tournament in Circle 1 regulation. Third in tee to green, but 50th in strokes gained putting. Below average. 14 OBs, also a little bit costly there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels like Eagles. It still feels like Eagle could just lock in and be the best player for the next 5 years. I mean, he was really good down the stretch of this season.
Yeah.
He was Calvin level consistent at the top of the leaderboard.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
And it's bizarre because he hasn't won a tournament this year. And we've gotten so used to him winning a couple events a year.
Oh, well, Eagles usually the exact opposite of his season this year, right?
Right.
He wins a bunch, but doesn't play enough or just no-shows some tournaments. And so Eagles always the weird conundrum to deal with in the Player of the Year race because it's like, well, this guy just won a ton of tournaments, but he also didn't cash as many tournaments as he won. The opposite this season, like you mentioned. I mean, he is. We were talking about this. Hasn't missed the podium since European Open, and hasn't missed top 5 since OTB.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, that is a good. And head to head actually, that's pretty interesting. Head to head with Calvin, beats Calvin at MVP, beats Calvin at Worlds, beats Calvin at D-Glow, ties with Calvin at European Open, finishes one behind Calvin at PCS. And so, I mean, since they tied at European Open, Eagle has not lost to Calvin.
Since Jonesboro, Eagle's been the better player.
Yeah.
Is that a hot take?
Yes. Jonesboro's a touch too early because immediately after Jonesboro, Calvin finishes 6th at OTP, Eagle finishes 55th.
Okay.
And then Eagle doesn't play Portland, DDO, DMC, which Calvin did.
Right. I mean, Eagle skips a lot of time, and it's kind of hard to evaluate that.
Since the European swing,
he's been really, really solid.
Yeah. Since European swing, Eagle has been the better player.
Let's take a look at the throw pink side of things. We've talked plenty about Holland Hanley and Kristen. Henna Blomroos, Evelina Salonen finished tied for third, Josh. And man, Henna comes out of the gate, and I'm like, I knew it. I knew it. She's going to do it. But just can't get the job done. And both she and Evelina seem to like just hit these roadblocks every time where they just don't quite have it. You know, they both come out with amazing rounds. Evelina shoots course record in round one. Henna is one spot worse, ties the previous course record at 10 under. And then they both, you know, have various struggles on the putting green.
Do you want to hear some crazy stats here? Evelina, Henna, and Ella all had between 5 and 8 strokes OB less than Holland Hanley. And
wow.
Okay. And on the putting side, Evelina was 13 strokes gained, like difference in their putting. Holland was 6.83 gained. Evelina lost 6.18. Henna was the best putter at negative 5.08. So 13 strokes difference, 13 to 12 strokes difference on the putting green is between Evelina, Henna, and Ella versus Holland.
What is frustrating about it is that they both putted pretty good in round one.
They did.
I mean, Hannah was 79 C1X, 20 C2. And was like making lots of putts. And like, you know, bogey free. She doesn't go out of bounds. And you're like, all right. Like, she looked like the best player on day one. It felt sustainable. It felt like she was putting cleaner in some ways than Evelina. And then she comes out the next day, goes out of bounds 5 times, 38% C1X, and doesn't make a single circle 2 putt. And then the next day she's 20% C1X, and she doesn't make a single circle 2 putt, and she has like 8 of them. And it's just like, I mean, I know it's like the definition of insanity to do the same thing and expect a different result. And that's what I feel like I do when I pick Henna, because it's the same thing every time. And I just, they're still incredible players to watch.
They are. But
like when Henna leaves herself at 25 feet and you're like, I don't think she's going to make it. That's not, we can't have that. You
can't
know?
have it.
You got to be able to make those putts with consistency from inside of 30. And it's just, you know, they don't seem to be able to find when the chips are down, you got to be able to hit that putt. Kristen and Holland were hitting those putts, and those two were not.
Yeah, it's if you look at the throw-in distance stat on UDisc for round 3 for Henna, she has 116 footer. And that was our only C1X make of the day. Everything else was 5 feet.
So tough.
Yeah.
79% circle 2 in regulation for Henna. That was number 1. That is insane. That means birdie look on 4 out of 5 holes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you can't cash it in, what good is it?
What good is it? Yep.
Yeah. I will say I'm very pleasantly surprised, Josh, by the continuing progression of confidence that I'm seeing from Evelina's putt.
agree with that.
Like, there were times when she got a little shaky, but she seemed to right the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, she still missed a lot of putts, but it was like the misses look good now instead of looking like atrocious.
Yes. It's because she has a proper form now.
Yeah, it's like a little more flat towards the chains.
Yes.
You kept hearing James Proctor saying on the pole.
On the pole.
And, you know, she made a lot of good putts.
Yes. And she's engaging her legs. She's got a what looks like a repeatable swing. Henna's is a mess.
Oh, yeah. Oh, she needs to go like full back to the drawing board. I mean, it's like this weird lofty lob.
Yeah,
like, it's all arm.
No, yeah, it's this weird straddle with no legs in it. Yeah.
It's just not good. Yeah. Ella Hansen, you know, just got bit by Winthrop. I mean, I don't exactly know what happened to her on hole 12. Those errors seemed strange.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I don't think it's because she was trying to do some crazy shot making or like drive the green. I think she just gets nervous and then loses like angle and edge control a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, how long has Ella been playing disc golf, right? A couple of years? It's easy to forget that she is still very new to the sport. And some of these players around her, you know, Holland obviously being an exception, but how long have Henna and Evelina been playing disc golf?
A lot longer than Ella.
2013. I mean, this was Henna's
at least
10th
3 or 4
year.
years before Ella even picked up a frisbee.
Yes,
a disc golf frisbee.
Right. Yeah, this is Henna's 10th year as a PDGA member.
Wow.
She's played disc golf her entire life. Right?
Yep.
She's been playing FPO over in Finland since 2013. She got her first FPO win at a C tier. Now, I don't know how many players there were at that event in 2013.
That's crazy.
There were 5. There were 5 players.
She was like a young teenager.
Yes. What? No, young. Because how old's Henna right now?
I don't remember.
20?
She's 23.
She was 13. She won her first FPO event when she was 13 years old.
She's a baller.
Ago. She is a baller.
She her turnover backhands are things of beauty.
Mm-hmm. So my point is, for Ella to lose edge and angle control a little bit and have decision making things that kind of go wrong. Welcome to being new at a professional sport, right? That's going to take time, and I think that her track is been such a rapid accelerator, and she was. You hyped Ella during COVID times about her, how good she is in ultimate and her throwing an ultimate. And so it's easy to have very high expectations for Ella, and she's helped set those because of how good she is. But those kind of mistakes, especially at a course like Winthrop that's designed to draw them out, in my opinion, comes from just inexperience.
Well, I think Ella also can make a lot of strides as a putter. She was almost dead last. I think she was second. She was 39th out of 40 in putting this weekend, 50% C1X. So even with, you take away the 8 on hole 12 that took her out of contention, like it doesn't even matter if she takes that 8 if she's putting better.
Yeah.
So it's like for her, it's also about putting. And I think my guess is the nerves on the green that are causing the putting issues are the same nerves that cause throwing issues when it's like getting close late.
Yeah.
And we saw it at Waco and we saw it here. And, now she has pink hair and she's going to tear it up.
That's right. Well, the one other thing I want to say too is when we interviewed Ella, I think it was almost 2 years ago at this point. She first started, it was right after she signed the contract with Discmania. She said, adapting to the mental game of an individual sport like disc golf, where you have time in between your shots and time to think about it, is just a whole nother ball game as opposed to a game like Ultimate and a team-based sport. And it's clear that she's still having to figure that out.
I just want to credit Ella, who came out. She goes 4 over through the first 8 holes of her tournament. and then is in a position to win it in the final round. 6 second round, 11 birdies, and just, so much talent. Awesome stuff. All right. It's time to talk about who's been the number 2 FPO disc golfer this season. And we don't need to have any kind of discussion at all about number 1. So let's talk about number 2. Josh, who's in the conversation for the number 2 spot?
Yeah. So, we talked about win by committee, right? And I think we're looking at who has the chance to get that committee head position. I'm going to tell you 3 that are not up for consideration right now.
Okay.
First up is Ella. Ella has an amazing season. She and very consistent.
Let's not call it amazing, right? It's not amazing.
I mean,
she's having a good season by her standards, but it's not an amazing season.
She's 5th in the Pro Tour standings.
I mean, I guess it depends on what you want to call amazing. I think Kristen Tatar's season is amazing.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I'm just being honest.
Okay. Ella's having a very good season for her standards, and all things considered, I think is a good season. She doesn't have any wins.
I would be glad to have Ella Hansen's season on a Disc Golf Pro Tour.
Same. Ella Hansen has no wins. That disqualifies you from consideration because there's too many players around her with wins.
Yep, that's fair.
Second player out of consideration, Katrina Allen. Our stats include average finish and average major finish, and Katrina has been so bad since European Open that she would be in a whole nother league when you look at average finishes. First half of her season, probably making the strongest case to be the head of that committee. Second half, absolutely disastrous. So she has to be out. The final one is Kat Mertsch. Kat Mertsch does have a win, and she has been fairly consistent. Unfortunately, her resume just looks too much like Missy Gannon's or Owen Scoggins, and without, but not as good. And so, I mean, we could include her, but it's going to very closely mirror those two and not be. She's not going to have any top stats, so she also gets disqualified from consideration. That leaves 4 players who I think are in the running for committee head: Missy Gannon, Owen Scoggins, Holland Hanley, Haley King.
Okay, so Missy Gannon has the win at Ledgestone, DGPT Plus event. Owen Scoggins won D-Glow. It's a playoff. Mm-hmm. Holland Hanley just won the major adjacent Throw Pink. But I will just note, we are including Throw Pink as a major and a tour event in this analysis today.
Yes.
I am fully committed to this at this point. I'm going to count Throw Pink as a major, and I just think we have to have like clarity about like what the season is all about. Because if you ignore it, you're cheapening what is obviously a big achievement win for the players this year and in the past. Yeah. And then Haley King won DDO and then MVP, which was, of course, was a playoff. So they all have 1 to 2 wins. I guess everybody has 1 win except Haley, who has 2. So Haley already out in front in that category.
Only reason she's actually in consideration when you go down the rest of the stats.
Yeah, so let's take a look.
2 wins.
I don't think we need to go through every single thing here, but they all have double-digit top 10 finishes. Missy Gannon leads the way with 17 top 10s in 20 starts. And again, just note, we are looking at DGPT, majors, and Throw Pink in this analysis, so no silver events. Owen Scoggins played a lot fewer events, 10 out of 14 top 10s, including in those top 10s, 9 of them were podiums. So she has the most podiums. Owen does 9. Missy second with 7, Holland with 6, and Haley with 4. The best average major finish, who do you think it goes to, Josh?
Owen?
It's Holland.
Wow.
I mean, I think getting the 1
that's true.
Helps a lot. Yeah. 5 1/4 for Holland at the average as the average major finish. Owen Scoggins very close in second at 5.6.
Okay.
And then you have Missy and Haley at about 7.2.
Okay.
Average finish best goes to Owen, 5, just over like 5.1. Missy in second at 6, Holland at 7.5, Haley at 9 3/4. So I got to be honest, Josh, it's really hard to pick a winner just looking at these numbers.
they all have a win in some category, right? They are the best. Everyone is the best at something. The one note I do want to make real quick about own stats, we did exclude Worlds where she DNF'd due to injury. So
seems fair.
She didn't, it was, and it wasn't like she DNF'd at, I think she DNF'd pretty early in the tournament.
She realistically shouldn't have ever started that event.
Agreed.
But that's fair. That's fair.
So, I mean, if you include that, she becomes last in basically all the average. She becomes last in the average finish and average majors because they put her as 78th, which destroys her statistics.
Which I don't know. I feel like it isn't the right thing to do to include a DNF for like an injury reason as an actual finish. It's not a finish.
Right.
You just aren't competing.
Yes.
It's like you never were there.
Right.
Now, if you drop out because you rage quit, then that's a different conversation.
Hold. I agree with you, though. I mean, I think this gives a lot of credit to the committee title that we use because, I mean, these 4 players are all so closely matched in so many of these stats. Here's my first take when I look at this.
I have an important take as well.
Okay. I think Own has the most impressive season when you look at things like the average finishes, right? I mean, excellent average finish, excellent average major, and podiums. I don't think Own played enough, and I think you have to... I don't think she can be the committee head when she has 6 less events than Missy. Because all it takes is 1 or 2 bad events, and Own's averages would be worse than Missy's. Maybe she doesn't have that, but half a dozen events less... That to me just feels like she is not playing enough to be the committee head. And so Own is actually to me, the first one that I would disqualify.
Here's a point that I would like to make.
Okay.
Holland and Haley are the only players to have beaten Kristen to win their tournament.
Okay.
Missy at Ledgestone, Own at D-Glow. No Kristen. And so I think it should be considered as part of this analysis, at least.
Yeah.
I think it enhances the value of the wins at MVP and Throw Pink. And was Kristen at DDO? I think she was.
I can look. I've got it up, actually.
I think she was.
She took 4th. So Haley beat
her twice.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest, her overall performance, season start to finish, a little too inconsistent for me.
That's fair. I mean, the 2 wins is a big deal. But
it is a big deal.
But I mean, she has the worst stats and almost the worst stats in every other category. The only one who has worse stats is Own in top 10s, but that's because she hasn't played as many events.
I'm going to pick my answer right now. You ready?
I'm ready.
My answer is Missy Gannon is the leader of the committee. Not only does she have get the Ledgestone win, she has the most top 10s.
Yep.
She has more podiums than anybody except Own. And I think really importantly, she was the player to step up at Worlds and challenge Kristen. And maybe, she comes up short, but she was the one player there who was in the mix.
It's true.
If Missy hadn't been there, it would have been a Kristen walkover. So I give Missy credit for that. It just feels to me like she was the one who I was expecting to have the best chance to go out there and like compete at the highest level week in and week out. And I think the stats back that. I can understand if somebody wants to pick Haley because of the wins over Kristen.
I think it's a legit reason.
But I think Missy has just been the better overall player start to finish.
I tend to agree. I think Missy is probably my pick as well. Holland deserves a lot of credit for winning the only major that wasn't
absolutely
right and beating Kristen straight up to do it, but does have less podiums than both Missy and Own, has less top 10s than Missy. Her average finish is worse than both Missy and Own's. Her average major finish is the only stat that she leads in, and that's because of the one at Throw Pink. And so I think I agree. I think Missy's probably the one who deserves the nod. But man, when we finished putting the stats in, we looked at this and we were like, oh my gosh, that is so close. It is so close. They all have very compelling reasons as to why they should be the head of the Christian Challenger Committee.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're talking DGPT Championship. 40 grand to the winners. We'll talk about it next.
Pound's the best of the best. It's the quality, the craftsmanship, the vision for what a bag could be. Let's start from the beginning. I didn't choose Pound, I chose Levi. I trusted Levi to make the best bag possible.
He's always trying to innovate. He wants it to be perfect. And I think he's the kind of guy that nothing's ever perfect.
I trust the product, I trust the people behind the product.
At this point, I don't think anyone's disputing that it's the best made bag.
Welcome back to the Upshot. DGPT Championship starts tomorrow at Nevin Park in Charlotte, North Carolina. Brand new format this year. And the layout of Nevin also, it's not right to call it brand new, but significantly changed. Yep. They have added a lot of length. They've changed multiple holes. Josh, this course is now longer than Northwood Black.
That's long. That is long. But the one thing I will say is that Nevin has a couple of open holes.
It's true.
That you can stretch and get some of that distance in. So long, but not quite like, buckle up, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
This is about to be crazy.
The last year's MPO layout was 9,400 feet, par 69. And this year it's 10,770, par 66. They made it a lot harder, a lot longer. FPO expands by about 600 feet, 8,471 up to 9,000. Goes from par 66 to par 63.
We talked to Holland, and she said that she really likes the layout. She thinks it's made some really interesting holes that have been included in it, and I'm definitely excited to see and watch those changes. And the nice part, well, this is probably a good time to talk about the format. We get to see all the players play the format this year.
Yeah, so let's discuss exactly how this works. And by the way, Juliana Korver is in. Paul Ulibarri is in officially. So no Paige Pierce, no Paul Macbeth. We knew this basically, but that's confirmation. I actually asked Juliana about it this weekend. I said, hey, like, are you 100% confirmed? And she said yes. And she said, this is just like the perfect way to finish my career. And so let's enjoy that. I don't know how she doesn't have any strokes coming in. So it's going to be a challenge for her to just even make it to the second stage of the event. But what a career for Juliana Korver, and just so cool that she made it to the Pro Tour Championship after, 20, almost 25 years since her prime.
It's incredible. Incredible story.
A little yawn there from Josh.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
So incredible that it just puts him to sleep. Okay, so let's talk about this format. Josh, how does it work this year? Basically, it looks nothing like last year. Well, it looks a little bit like last year in a way.
It doesn't look much like last year. Yeah, it is inspired by the the PGA's. Man, it's hard not to say PDGA. It's inspired by the PGA's FedEx Cup, which awards strokes based on season performance going into the tournament. So let's do a quick rundown. Going into this tournament, your season leaders have the most strokes under par start. So Calvin will start the tournament at 6 under par. Isaac at 5. Gannon Burr, Ricky Wysocki at 4. Following players are at 3 under. Eagle, McMahon, Matty O, Simon Lizotte, Kyle Klein. And then you've got
we don't have to go through every single name, but a bunch of players at 2.
Yeah, next 8 are at 2, and the next 8 are at 1.
And then the bottom 8 are starting at even par.
Correct. Yep. So that's that's the format. FPO, very similar, except Kristen starts at 5 under, and then it's a little bit more compressed because they have less players.
Yeah,
they are going to play
Missy at 4, Owen and Holland at 3, and then 4 players at 2, 4 players at 1, and then 8 players at even.
Yep. They are going to play 2 rounds of traditional stroke play, including these strokes that they get under par to start. At the end of those 2 rounds, the lowest aggregate scores in FPO, that's lowest 8. In MPO, it's the lowest 12, will advance to a finals. Tie breaks will go to seed preference, which last year...
That's huge.
Remember, Kyle Klein tied with Gannon Burr, but did not get to move on to finals because Gannon Burr had the seed advantage.
I really like this seeding tiebreaker rule.
I think it's a good rule. After they move on to finals, top 8, top 12, the scores are reset to 0. There is no stroke advantage. They then will play 2 rounds of traditional stroke play, winner take all. Not quite, but just actually, it's not at all winner.
160.
There's lots of money all the way down
to the winner, and everybody else gets zip zero nada.
It's not even close to winner take all.
Winner take a lot. Winner take 40,000.
Winner take 40K. Yeah.
And the top 4 seeds or finishers, I should say, in both divisions are going to take home the same money, MPO and FPO. 40 grand, 22,000 for second, 14,000 for third, and 10,000 for fourth. So, still preserving some aspect of the let's make sure that the finish is exciting that we saw in the past, where the final round would get zeroed out and everybody started even, 4 players. Now we have 8 and 12 players starting at even, but over 2 rounds. I saw an interesting idea. I can't remember if this was in an email or in the Discord, but somebody said they should do the same starting procedure.
Okay.
But don't reset the scores to 0 after 2 rounds. Simply remove the starting strokes from so you still do your cut. And then once you've done the cut and you have your top 8, top 12, take away any of the starting strokes and then continue the event. So you're essentially still playing a 4-round tournament. It just gives like an advantage to get through to the next round for the top players, which I kind of thought was interesting. It reduces the variance and increases the likelihood that the best player wins the event, which has pros and cons. I mean, I think my biggest concern about the Pro Tour Championship is that it overweights a really small sample size of 36 holes.
Yes.
As like the crowning achievement of the season.
Yep. I think that's spot on, right? I actually don't love this format with the split. I would prefer just a straight Riders Cup format where they don't reset scores. I know that removes it increases the risk that a final day is very boring, right? Because Kristen's playing and is 12 strokes ahead going.
The best player gets the most strokes and then just pulls away to a crushing win.
I understand the concern with that, but like Kristen and Calvin spotted 5 and 6 strokes. I don't know. Well, actually, I think they have the probabilities up. Kristen has a 99% chance to advance. Calvin has a 95% chance to advance according to UDisc win probability. So basically, it's like, hello, your season was so good, you now get to advance to the final round, which is 36 holes of even play from everybody, right?
Right.
Over 3 rounds, I think that number goes down. 6 strokes over 3 rounds? That's overcomable. That's 2 strokes around. 3 strokes, it feels like a lot, and so because of that split, I don't love the hybrid split reset.
Well, let's see how it goes. I mean, we haven't actually watched it happen yet.
That is true.
And I have to say, although I think it's a flawed way to decide a very important tournament champion, it has been entertaining in the past because you're coming into the final day and everyone's tied.
That's true.
So, they've reduced that somewhat by going to 2 rounds instead of just 1. I think it's compelling.
Okay.
I just think if you get another, do we want Nathan Queen winning this tournament? In a way, it's really fun and exciting. But on the other side, it's like, well, especially because the way Nathan Queen had to do it, right? He had to survive and advance all of these rounds, and then he's like the total underdog and he still wins. It was a fun story.
Yeah.
And so maybe that, like, the excitement and the fun of it outweighs the fact that it just like completely loses meaning as like a competitive tournament. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it does. I think that's a great point.
Okay, so let's before we pick our top finishers.
Okay.
Let's pick the players we think are going to advance.
Okay.
So let's start in FPO. 8 players will get through to the final 2 rounds.
Yep.
I will go first, and in no particular order. I'm going to intentionally alter my order. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Kristen, obviously. Missy, Holland, Haley, Owen, and now I'm going to start to get into the people who are a little less obvious. Sarah Hokum,
Okay.
Jessica Weiss,
Okay.
Allie Smith.
Okay.
So I'm leaving off some players who have some strokes advantage,
Yes.
including Ella Hansen, Katrina Allen, Kat Murch.
So those 3 are in the top 8 right now, and you say they are going to fall outside of that.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Part of this is I'm picking players who I have seen perform well here at Nevin in the past. Jessica Weiss comes to mind. Sarah Hokum is a wood specialist. She's going to be able to use her forehand to good effect. Allie Smith has like quietly been one of the better players over the last couple of months. I just don't think this course sets up super well for Ella's game. And Katrina is unpickable right now. Just has lost it. I don't know what's going on. And Kat Murch, I was like really torn about Kat Murch, but she did not play particularly well at Nevin last year. So that was my tiebreaker.
Yeah. I mean, bonus for Katrina Allen. She's guaranteed to finish top 20.
Jeez. Poor Katrina. It's hard to watch.
It is. That 4-putt on hole one was rough. Okay, in my order, I'm just going to read them in seeding order. So that's what my order is. Kristen Tatar, Missy Gannon, Owen Scoggins, Holland Hanley. I do have Ella Hansen making it through. Pink hair, man. I'm not picking against it. Superpowers, Ella.
Respect.
Haley King. I am leaving off Kat Murch and Katrina Allen for all the same reasons, but I am including Allie Smith and Valerie Mondahano.
Okay, Valerie Mondahano she's coming in at even par.
She is. That means she's got 2 strokes that she needs to make up on either Kat or Katrina to get in. I think she can do 2 strokes in 2 rounds.
I do too.
And it's easy to forget about her down in 19th and that she got it on the win, but injury, I think she's got a good chance.
I will note, scores were very compressed last year. Wooded course, a lot of score compression, lower ratings.
Yes.
Having a couple strokes is a big deal.
And seeding.
And seeding and the tiebreakers.
There's a good chance Valerie gets the score needed, but doesn't
loses
get
on
in
a tiebreaker.
She's the 19th seed.
Right.
Yeah.
She's dead last, right? Or I guess Juliana. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, how about your MPO list, Josh?
Yep, MPO list. Calvin Heinberg, Isaac Robinson, Gannon Burr, Ricky Wysocki, Eli McMahon, Matty O, Simon Lizotte, Kyle Klein.
Mm-hmm.
I am leaving off Anthony Barella, Cole Redolin. I'm leaving off Cole Redolin as well. I'm putting James Proctor in.
Okay.
Leaving off Ezra Robinson. So AB, Cole, and Ezra, those are my 3 players who are in the top 12 who I'm leaving out. In their place, Chris Dickerson, Kevin Jones, and Nicholas Ontala.
Okay.
Nicholas did not play well in semis last year, which is why he didn't go on to finals, but he did play extremely well and won some of the rounds in round 1 and 2 in order to get to semis. He had to play a lot of rounds last year. I think the 2 split format is going to go really well for Nicholas.
I also have Nicholas in, by the way.
Okay.
So yeah, I have Eagle, Ricky, Calvin, Gannon, Isaac, Kyle, Cole.
Okay, so you put Cole in.
I have Cole in.
Okay.
Is Proctor top 12?
Proctor is top 12.
Yeah. I like his chances to get through for sure.
Okay.
So then I'm leaving out Simon, AB,
okay.
and Ezra Robinson.
So Simon and Cole are where we differ on who's missing the cut. We both have AB and Ezra missing.
And I'm with you on Nicholas in. I also have Joel Freeman and Aaron Gossage in.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Respect for good play this past weekend from Joel.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. I think he's like found the rhythm again a little bit. I was considering Aaron Gossage for my podium, but I'm not going to do it because I think there's too much of a risk that he just doesn't get through because of where he is in the standings.
That's
coming
fair.
in. But I think if he gets through, he's
Podium's a real
dangerous.
chance. Yeah,
he's
that's a good
dangerous.
point.
He put some really nice rounds together at Nevin last year. Simon did not. That's why I have him out.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Let me pull it up real quick.
Well, while you're doing it, I choose to include Chris and Kevin simply for the fact they've won this event before, right? They play well here.
Sure,
and
but I mean, they didn't win it. Kevin didn't win it at Nevin.
Correct.
It was Hornets Nest.
But Kevin made it to the finals at Nevin the year after he won. I believe. I've got to go.
Was that last year? Wasn't Nevin the first time last year?
The first year we played Nevin?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, KJ USA, baby.
That's a good argument, Josh. That's really convincing. KJ USA, baby. I feel like he's just way off right now. I feel like his game is not in a good spot.
Well, what I was gonna say, because I agree with you, but if there's one player who is horses for courses, it's Kevin Jones. Kevin can like not even be playing disc golf, and then a course comes up that he's good at, and it's like, oh, Kevin Jones is in contention again. Well, I don't know where that came from. This may have been you know what? I'm sticking with it though.
He shot a 62 in round 2 last year, which was second to worst score among the 12 players. Simon shot a 63, which was second to worst score. Matty O was worst at 65. That was in round 3. So, I mean, I don't know. Like,
Who knows?
sometimes you have a bad day. I don't think it's crazy. Kevin Jones seems to like weird formats and
That's
like
true.
the more match play-ish type stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't hate it. KJ USA, baby.
KJ USA. It's
so-
longer. He's gonna jump putt a lot. I don't know.
So we have those are our picks.
Okay.
Should we do bonus points for getting picks right?
How about this?
A half point for each one.
Well, I was
ahead.
just going to say a point goes to the person with the most correct picks.
Okay.
So that both an
Per-
MPO
per
and an
division.
FPO per division. Yep.
Okay,
so
I
one
like that.
point just for whoever has the better top 12 pick.
I get the tiebreaker because I'm the higher seed.
Oh, no, you're not. I'm the higher seed. Let me double check this real fast. But let's check. I think, yeah, I've got you beat by 2 points right now.
Well, you don't get, there's no tiebreaker points in our contest. All right, let's time to get to our picks for who's going to actually win this thing.
All right.
I'll start. I'm taking Kristen. I know I'm going out on a limb here, but no, she played really well at Nevin last year.
Yeah.
And she was able to pull away and win comfortably in a single round where she had, everybody at even. I think with 2 rounds, it's just going to be really tough to beat her. And it's like classic Kristen. She does a little bit of this roller coastery thing where, she plays amazing when it counts the most and then kind of has a little bit of a lull. I think we saw a little bit of a lull this weekend, and that means that like killer Kristen is back. And so I expect her to take it down and take down the big payday. In second place, I have Owen Scoggins, who just is a rock when it comes to a course like this, being able to stay in the fairway, give herself opportunities, hit the big putts from circle 2 that you're going to have to hit on a long track like this in the woods. I think she's I don't think she's going to win, but I don't think she's going to finish worse than like 4th. It's just like her range of finishes is very small and it's near the top. In third, I have Missy Gannon. I don't really have much to elaborate on. I feel like I'm picking the players who have had the best season.
Yeah. Okay. All over on my podium on the FPO side, I also have Kristen winning it. Just blew people out in Nevin. Completely agree. In second place, though, I've got Superpower Ella Hansen.
Oh, okay. Wow. Second place. Wow.
Yes, I'm bumping her up. I think that Ella is motivated and just playing really good golf, and I was really impressed by what I saw at Throat Pink. And the other thing that I think is that if Kristen separates herself like we kind of expect her to, then Ella doesn't have that pressure that creates the crumble factor that you have to worry about. And I think that's going to be a reason that she's able to keep it up and go into second place. Third pick, I also give it to Missy Gannon. Here's the biggest thing to me. I picked Missy Gannon because she has the second most strokes to Kristen. And I'm looking at the risk analysis of who do I think is going to make it to finals. And there are other players who I think once we get to a flat, even game, Holland talked about the fact she plays better at the second half of the tournament. I think that's right. And Holland might be a good podium pick. But there's a chance that Holland has a really bad round 1 or 2 and doesn't make it across.
Yep.
Like that could happen. And so it's really hard to pick someone like Holland or Haley King or Valerie Mondahano, who's all the way dead last, because I just don't know if they're going to make it through.
Exactly.
Own, I just have too many questions about the elbow. So I leave Own off, I put Ella instead, and then I give the nod to Missy Gannon, and that's my podium.
How about for MPO?
Third place, I give it to Kyle Klein. He comes off the win. Kyle doesn't feel like one who's going to, phone it in because he had the big win, especially with how much money's on the line here. And the only reason he didn't make it to finals last year was because he tied with Gannon Byrne, was a lower seed. I don't think that's going to be the issue this year. And I think then that means he's got 3 strokes under par. I'm pretty sure he's going to be comfortable to get into the final round. And plays well at this course. It really just a poor break for him, unfortunately. In my second place, I am going to give the nod to Isaac Robinson. Isaac went to the playoff with Ricky here last year, and obviously plays well at this course. It played well at USDGC. This, I think he's going to be highly motivated to win this tournament. Both money-wise.
I think everybody's going to be highly motivated to win this tournament.
You're right. But Isaac has the external motivation, I think, of player of the year he has to be hearing.
That's true. That's true.
And has to think about it. But my number 1 pick, I'm giving it to Gannon Burr because I want the chaos of Gannon Burr winning this event and then us having to have the player of the year discussion. So
that would be crazy.
That's why I want it. I picked Gannon Burr to take the win.
Gannon's played well. I mean, he was only 1 stroke back of Ricky and Isaac going to the playoff last year, and he shot a 57 in round 3. So, those were good scores. Those scores are basically meaningless moving forward because the par is changing and the course is changing. But
right.
He's handled Nevin well.
Yeah.
I have Gannon on my podium. He's in my 3 spot.
Okay.
So at number 2, I have Ricky. I think this is just like classic Rick, like good spot.
Okay.
Like showed late in USDGC that he had some life.
Yeah.
And is now going to a track where he has had real success.
And it doesn't have an M next to it.
Who can't forget him in the playoff, getting down there and hitting the putts on 18 again. It was awesome.
Right.
But in the 1 spot, Isaac Robinson, Revenge Tour.
You're giving him the nod for the player
over
of the
Ricky.
year.
And yes, I think obviously if he wins, he's going to win player of the year.
Okay.
I almost had Calvin on my podium, but I like the way Rick and Isaac played this course last year so much that I kept them at the top.
Okay, I like it. For as we talked about, total points for our picks this season: 107 for me, 105 to you.
Wow.
It comes down to this tournament.
Wow. It's going to be crazy. It's who's going to win player of the year on the Upshot.
It's not us. Tyler WA, a regular Discord user, is 118.
118. Wow, nice picks.
Yeah, he's got the win. So
probably picks chalk every week. So lame. Okay, that's going to do it for this edition of the Upshot. Excited for the Pro Tour Championship. Looking forward to seeing. Oh, I have one thing before we go.
Okay.
Frank emailed.
Oh, yeah.
We were talking yesterday about the new era. You know, Paul and Rick not finishing top 10 at a major for the first time in however long, over 10 years. And Frank says, even more evidence that we're in a new era is the loss of the asterisk win. No longer does anyone say, well, Paige or Ricky or Paul wasn't there. I think this is the final piece of evidence we need that we are in the parity era. And it's true. There was literally zero mention of Paige Pierce during Throw Pink. And I don't recall, maybe they mentioned that Paul wasn't playing. But
it wasn't in the context of
it was not
he would have won.
Right.
I think this is an amazing point from Frank.
So that's going to do it for today's Upshot. We'll see you next Tuesday. Break down the the DGPT Championship. It's been a long season, folks. And we'll be with you on Sunday night as well for a rapid reacts following the Pro Tour Championship. A lot of money on the line. Who needs the money the most, Josh? Who do you think would really be happiest to win the cash, the 40K?
Happiest to win the cash. Kristen sets the record. And well, she already has set the record. Blows the record out of the water.
She can't possibly be the right answer, right?
No,
because
I don't
of how
think
much
so.
money she already has. She's already broken the record, but would obliterate it.
I mean, I'm just going to scroll to the bottom of Parker Welk. Parker Welk would be
Parker
the most
Welk's
happy
probably a really good answer.
Parker Welk, and cash wise, Lucky Lorenzen.
I like that.
Flights from Europe are expensive. That's true.
Stacey Ronsley. I don't know, but man, it's a lot of money. Remember when Haley won, and it was like, I don't have to work at the pizza shop this off season. That feels. It's crazy. That was not that long ago. Was that pre-COVID or was that like?
Yeah,
I guess that was probably the first. Was it?
I think it was pre-COVID.
Was it 2019?
I think so.
Or was it 2020?
Let's look. 2020. It was Haley.
2020.
2020.
Wow. Even then, it still feels like a long time ago. All right. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long, and we'll talk to you Tuesday right here on The Upshot.